Hi everyone! It is Friday, February 2nd, 2018, and this is episode 130 of Serenova Crafts. I'm your host, Jessica. I can be found as Serenova on Valkyrie and Twitter, and as Serenova Crafts on Instagram. You can find the show notes for today's episode on my blog or in the Ravelry group. Links down below if you're watching on YouTube. Feel free to join the Ravelry group. I do have a Facebook group for this. Just search for Serenova Crafts. I'm going to apologize. Last week I never actually got show notes up. I did post the episode. I recorded. I posted. But I never got the show notes up. So unfortunately there are no show notes for last week. However, there are no foes. There is no stash. There's, but this week I'm going to talk about knitting first, and then I'm going to rant about books for a little bit because I decided to do a book thing that I will talk about later. But knitting first. And I actually have a foe. That's right, you heard it right. I have a finished object for you. It is the cowl I was making my former assistant manager at Tivana. Her name is Andrea. I finished it. It is all done. It is seamed and everything. It's not blocked. I'm going to try to block it. It may or may not work with the acrylic, but I'm going to give it a shot. It'll probably still look better than it currently does. And of course, there's now cat hair all over it. Kevin and I, since, speaking of cats, since I saw you guys last week, Kevin and I adopted 2 cats. We have had them for 6 days. Today's day 6. One of them is loose in the house right now. The other one is upstairs in her room because she's being naughty. Well, not naughty, but she's not eating. Their names are Zoe and Confetti. Confetti is the one that's loose. She might come say hi. She might not. We've been letting them alternately have a run of the house. It's Confetti's turn right now since I'm home. So if you hear any crashes or cat meows in the background, or bells, it's probably Confetti. Confetti, want to come say hi to the people? No? Okay. I guess not. So cat hair is now a thing again. So last week I was here. You can see the marker. So I have knit from here all the way to here. So I've done that much between my fingers since last week. And then I seamed it. You can kind of see the seam. You kind of can't. It's not too noticeable. The color change is more noticeable than anything else. But I got at least 1 full color repeat out of the yarn. I still have half the skein, but I figured this was a good cowl length because you can, in fact... What are you doing, Confetti? You can, in fact, do this. So, there you go. There's the cowl. It is leaves, in fact. Confetti, what are you doing? She's like under the blanket we have on the couch. Confetti, come here. Come here. I can see her. She's right there. Come here. Come here. Come say hi to the nice people. Come say hi. Confetti. Nope, she didn't let me grab her. She's a little being held shy. She was a stray, but she is people friendly. Confetti. Come here. No? Okay. She's just going to be annoying in the background. You'll probably hear her bell. But yes, so, cowl. Works. It looks like leaves, which is the whole point. The person I'm giving this to is very much like an outdoorsy, nature-y kind of person, so that's why I picked the colorway, and that's why I picked this pattern. And, it's done. Yay! I have a foe. Thank goodness. This is the first thing it's actually my first foe of 2018. And it's already February. You'd think I would have finished something by now, but nope. So, I'm going to try to block this. But yeah, I did... so this is 20 repeats. The pattern says to do 16 for a scarf, but I added 4 extra repeats for the cowl, and it's does have some, you can see how far I can stretch it. It does have some good stretch to it. So I figure it'll be fine for use as a cowl. I'm going to remove my stitch marker since I no longer need it, and I will give it to the recipient on a Monday, and today is Friday. Excuse me, I have something in my eye. I don't know what, but I have something in my eye. But anyways, Progress Keeper is out because the project is done. Alright, so, got the thing out of my eye. I actually paused the recording and got the thing out of my eye. So it's all done. I just need to block it or attempt to block it. And then it will go to the recipient on Monday. And I hope she likes it. So actually, ironically, it's about the same length as the other one, but it doesn't use nearly as much yarn. Because the other one was brioche. So, there's that. And then the other thing I've been working on is my sock. This is more like my on-the-go, waiting in line project. So I've done about 1.5 color stripes, I'd say. There's the Progress Keeper, that's where I am. I'm working my way up the leg of this sock. Now that I don't have like that, because that had the deadline. Like I'm now going to try to finish up this pair of socks. I'm going to try to be good, and I'm going to try to not cast anything on until I've at least finished 2 more things. So I want to finish this pair of socks, and then I'm going to decide on another project I want finished. Probably my, oh, what's the name of that pattern? What is the name of that pattern? Why can I not? My Trillion, which you guys have not seen in ages. It's literally been months and months and months. Had my Trillion on the needle since, when did I start? I have my laptop off this side here. I started that in August of 2016. So it's been over a year. And I have not even half a skein left. So I think I might finish socks and Trillion, and then I might let myself cast something on. I think 2018 is going to be the finished stuff year. I'm declaring 2018 the year of foes. At least for me. Because really, I have too many whips right now. I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 16, 15, excuse me. I have 15 whips. 15. I want to get that number down to single digits. So, I mean, 2 of them are long-term scrap projects, so those don't really count. So really, I have 13. But I want to finish these socks since these have been on the needle since 2016. And then I think I'm gonna work on finishing 2016 stuff first, which is basically I have some stuff I need to finish. So but I'm hoping, you know, that, like, I'll say these socks and Trillion is what I'm gonna work on finishing. But so there, hopefully I will finish this soon. I don't have much. Oh, I have a decent amount of yarn left, so I can probably make these pretty high. I like high socks. So yeah, those are my whips. That's my faux. That's my whip. Trillion is upstairs, or I'd show it to you. Confetti's eating. You can probably hear her in the background. But I'm just putting that stuff away. I'm just putting my my stitch markers back in my Notions pouch. I am using, in case you're wondering what my Notions pouch is, I am using a Pusheen pencil holder as my Notions pouch. And it actually fits. I even have, in here, because it fits, you can have a little scale. A little, 100-gram scale. Because it fits in the pouch, so why not? And I have, like, my needle gauge and all that stuff, my scissors and my darning needles. I have a pencil in here, and I have a couple of, like, crochet hooks if I need anything for that. So that's what's in here. Wanna come say hi, Confetti? No, she walked away. So yeah, Pusheen pencil case. I got this at Barnes & Noble for like $10. It's actually a really good Notions pouch. So, that's my Notions pouch. So now I'm going to talk about books for a few minutes. I started listening to a new book podcast. It is called All the Books, which introduced me to a website called Book Riot. And now I have been listening to, I just finished listening to the first season of Annotated. But anyways, All the Books got me into the Book Riot website. And Book Riot is all about books. It's all about, like, new books and all that stuff. And last year they did what they called, they've actually been doing this for a few years apparently, something called the Read Harder Challenge. And basically it's, read 24 books over the course of the year. And in a slew of different genres. So I actually have the printout of, like, all the different genres. And this year it's sponsored by Libby, which is an app that Overdrive is doing. I have Overdrive. It's through my local library. You get ebooks that way. If you haven't heard of Overdrive, just go, take a look. So anyways, this is my list. I've partially filled it out with stuff I want to read. But the categories are wide and varied. And it's interesting. It's definitely going to stretch my reading muscles a bit. So stretching my reading muscles is really good. So the categories are this: a book published posthumously, a book of true crime, a classic of genre fiction, i.e. mystery, sci-fi, fantasy, romance, a classic written and illustrated by the same person, excuse me, a comic, not a classic, a comic written and illustrated by the same person, a book set in or about one of the 5 BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China, or South Africa, a book about nature, a Western, a comic written or illustrated by a person of color, a book of colonial or post-colonial literature, a romance novel by or about a person of color, a children's classic published before 1980, a celebrity memoir, an Oprah Book Club selection, a book of social science, a one-sitting book, and this actually makes me laugh because if I really put my mind to it, any book is a single-sitting book. So I'm like, that's like everything. The first book in a new-to-you YA or middle grade series, a sci-fi novel with the female protagonist by a female author, a comic that isn't published by Marvel, DC, or Image, a book of genre fiction in translation, a book with a cover you hate, a mystery by a person of color or LGBTQ+ author, an essay anthology, a book with a female protagonist over the age of 60, and an assigned book you hated or never finished. So for the first few ones, they actually had lists, and since I was unsure about some of these genres, I decided that I was just going to pick from what they had available. So for a book published posthumously, I'm going to read the Aenid, A-E-N-I-D. I've actually never had to say that word out loud. But I've never read it, so, you know. A book of true crime. I think I'm going to read The Orchid Thief, which is all about the underworld, illegal world of orchid trading. Like, apparently, like, super rare orchids. A classic of genre fiction. Believe it or not, I have never read The Princess Bride, so I'm going to read The Princess Bride. A comic written or illustrated by the same person. I'm going to read Octopus Pie. It was apparently a webcomic that has now been published, and I'm going to read that. A book set in or about one of the BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China, or South Africa. I'm going to read The American Play and Other Works. It's a collection of short fiction by the same author, and its stories are set in those countries. A book about nature. I am debating on between The Cloud Spotter's Guide or Rain, A Natural History. I might read both. A Western. I'm debating between Priest Genesis, which is a graphic novel about basically the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse get set loose in the Wild West, or River of Teeth, which is an alternate U.S. history in which the U.S. government imported hippos for meat and they got loose and now they eat people. I'm not making that up. But it is a fiction, of course. A comic written or illustrated by a person of color. I'm very interested in reading Monstrous. It's a graphic novel. It's out. Volume 2 actually just came out recently. Sounds very interesting. A book of colonial or post-colonial literature. I am going to read The Interesting Narrative of the Life of Olaudah Equiano. He was a slave who escaped, went to Britain. I think he was born in the Caribbean. He went to Britain. This is like the late 18th century, early 19th century. I believe this book was published in like 1807, 1809, something like that. He was instrumental in getting slavery repealed in the UK, which was, you know, years before it ever got repealed here in the US. So it seems, and it's written by him about like his life. So it seems really interesting. And it counts as like colonial and post-colonial because it's still in the colonial era, but he's living a post-colonial kind of life. So anyways. A romance novel or by or about a person of color. I'm not really a romance person, but obviously I'm going to give it a shot for this. There's a few, I'm thinking An Extraordinary Union might be interesting. It's set in during the Civil War, where this African-American woman from the North is masquerading as a slave in the South to try to undermine and get intel, and her significant other is also a spy. So yeah, so that one seems interesting. And then a children's classic published before 1980. I'm going to read A Wrinkle in Time. I've read it before, but the movie is coming out at the beginning of March, so I'm going to reread it before the movie comes out, because I want to go see the movie, but I want to like refresh myself on the story, so I'm going to read A Wrinkle in Time. And for the rest, I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet. For a celebrity memoir, I might read What Happened. And no, there isn't a question mark at the end of that. It's the new Clinton book about what happened during the election, so it's just what happened. There's no question mark. It's not what happened. It's what happened. And apparently she reads the audiobook herself, so I might do that on audiobook. We'll see. As for the others, I actually did pick up a new to me YA series, so I'll probably just read that. There's plenty of books with covers I hate, so this will be interesting. Hi, Confetti. Haha. I got the kitty. This is Confetti. Say hi to people on the internet. Say hi. This is Confetti. She's about a year old. She just got spayed a couple of weeks ago. She's one of the 2 we adopted. Kevin really liked her. She's very playful. And, yeah. And next time, hopefully, I can introduce you guys to Zoe. But this is Confetti, so, yeah, you want to go now? Yeah, she's not big on being held. There you go. Good girl. Hey, you got to see the cat. So, but yeah, so that's the Read Harder Challenge. It's by Book Riot. You can find it on their website. Right now I went to the library recently, and I picked up a couple of books, none of which are on this list. But, Kevin bought me Shakespeare's Pub for my birthday, and I've been meaning to read it since then, so I finally started reading it. It's, basically a barstool, it's what it says on the tin. So, Shakespeare's Pub, a barstool history of London as seen through the windows of its oldest pub, the George Inn. So what it says on the cover, it's exactly what it is. It is non-fiction history of a pub in the UK, and it does exactly what it says on the tin. It's the story of this pub. I am about 30 pages in. It's actually really good so far. Actually, speaking of books, I bought this really cute bookmark set. It's like all Japanese, like, inspired bookmarks, and so I've decided I'm going to use them. So, started reading Shakespeare's Pub. It's very interesting. I need to really sit down and spend some time with it, but we'll see. And then, I also wanted to reread this one, because I read this ages ago, and, I don't remember the plot, like, at all. So I decided to reread it. And this is How to Live Safely in a Science Fiction Universe, a novel by Charles Yu. This one comes from the library, hence it's shiny. My book, library book. And I'm on chapter 3 of this one. Here's another one of the Japanese-inspired bookmarks that are really fun. But yeah, so How to Live Safely in a Science Fiction Universe, novel by Charles Yu. And I've read this before, like I said, but it has been a very long time since I read it, so I'm reading it again. There's just a note in the back about the typeface used in the book. What's really annoying me about this copy is that it's got the untrimmed edges for the folios. See that? It's got the untrimmed edges. It drives me nuts because it makes it harder to flip pages. Like, it's not, like, you can see the edges here aren't straight here. Oh, this drives me bonkers. It's not my copy, though. It's a library book, so I'm going to return it. I also picked up, and I have 3 weeks to read all of these, which I can do. I also picked up The Explorers Guild Volume 1, which is, which the subtitle is A Passage to Shambhala. By John Baird with Kevin Costner and Stephen Meyer. So The Explorers Guild. This was really popular. I think I have a copy, but I don't know where it is, so I just brought it from the library. And then the last one I picked up on a whim. The other 2 I'd gone in search of. And then this one I picked up on the whim. It's the beginning of a new series. Well, it's not a new series, but it's the beginning of a series. And it's like an epic fantasy trilogy. And it's called Mistress of Dragons. And I'm like, hey, a chick in charge of dragons. Count me in. So there you go. So that's what I'm going to be reading. I'm probably going to start incorporating a little bit of books now and then. But hey, 20-minute podcast out of this. So, you know, hey, books. I might split books off into a separate thing and talk about them as I finish them. I've been thinking about getting into BookTube. Listening to all the books has really, really made my to-be-read list explode. It's gone from about 10 to about 50. Actually more. I think I'm up to like 70. But actually... it's funny, there's an indie bookstore in Portland, Maine, that one of the hosts knows the people who run the store. One of the hosts of the podcast knows people who run the store. And I'm going to be going to Maine at the end of the month, which, by the way, I think I've mentioned this last week, but I don't remember. I'm going to Spa at the end of the month. So I'm going to Spa, which is, it's run by NETA, which is the New England Textile Arts Association, and I'm going to be in Freeport, Maine for the final weekend of February. I'm going to spending it with knitters and everything. My mom and I got tickets to the fashion show, so we're going to go see that. I'm not participating in the fashion show like I did a couple of years ago, but I am going to view it. My mom is going with me. A bunch of people I know are going, but hey, if you're going to be at Spa in Freeport, Maine, and you see me, feel free to come up and say hi. I will happily sit and chat with you if you watch the podcast and you know me. Just, you know, feel free to say hi. I'm not going to say no to chatting with you. So I think that is it. You guys got to see Confetti. She's now washing herself on the couch right over there. She's having a bath. But I need to get lunch, and then I'm going to be off. But I hope you guys have a good week. I will see you next week, probably Friday morning. I might record Thursday next week, but we'll see. And but anyways, I will see you guys in a week, give or take a day. Have a good one. Bye!